Sinaloa Cartel. Nobody knows you work for Sinaloa. Not your neighbors, not your extended family, not the people you grew up with. You have a cover story and you've told it so many times it almost feels true. You own a small transport company. You've said it so often you sometimes forget it isn't real. Someone watched you for months before anyone said a word to you. You didn't notice. That's why they approached you. The vetting process is invisible because the organization has survived 40 years by making everything invisible. At its peak, 40 to 60% of all drugs entering the United States moved through Sinaloa infrastructure. Tunnels under the border with rail systems, ventilation shafts, and electric carts that move product 24 hours a day. Semi-trucks with hydraulic compartments welded into the chassis, carrying 500 kilos at a time through checkpoints that wave them through. Submarine-shaped vessels running 30 feet below the Pacific surface with no registration and no flag. You don't see most of this, you see your piece. Your piece is enough to understand what you are part of. The Golden Triangle has been growing poppy since the 1940s, long before anyone called it a cartel, long before the DEA existed to name it a threat. This organization is older than most of the governments trying to dismantle it. That is not a small thing to understand. Your father made 800 pesos a week driving a delivery truck. You make that before noon on a slow day. You don't think about this often. When you do, you put it away fast. The mission brief tonight is 3 sentences: product location, destination, timeline. No names, no quantities discussed out loud. The man sitting across from you controls more logistics infrastructure than most legitimate shipping companies. He is wearing a polo shirt. He has never raised his voice in a meeting. 3 people who tested that assumption are not available for comment. You drive the route, you pass the checkpoint. The officer on duty looks at your plates, looks at your face, looks back at his phone. You keep driving. 2 hours later, you pull into a warehouse on the south side of the city. A man you have never seen before takes the keys. He doesn't say thank you. You don't expect him to. An envelope is in your jacket before you reach the door. Nobody will ever know exactly what you moved or how much of it. Your mother stopped asking questions the day you bought her a house. Some things she decided she doesn't need to understand. That's the point. That's the job. CJNG. You hear them before you see them. Convoy of armored trucks moving through a Jalisco highway at noon without slowing down for anything. Roof-mounted weapons, men in full tactical gear, yet they don't hide. That is the entire message. Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación was founded in 2010. In 15 years, it became the fastest-growing criminal organization in Mexico, operating in all 32 states and cells in more than 25 countries. One method applied without variation. Total force until the territory submits, then total control after it does. The organization is led by El Mencho, former federal police officer, former Sinaloa affiliate, $10 million DEA bounty on his head since 2018. You never see him. Nobody below the 4th level sees him. What you see are the results of his decisions. Rival operators hung from bridges with signs written in specific language that anyone in the business can read like a map. Drones carrying improvised explosive devices flown into military barracks at night. In 2015, CJNG shot down a Mexican military helicopter with a rocket launcher. In daylight, on camera. They posted the video. That wasn't a mistake. That was a press release. The message was not for the government. It was for every other organization watching. You are 26 years old. The man who recruited you is 31 and has been doing this since he was 19. In CJNG, that is enough experience to run a cell of 40 men. Tonight, the mission is a plaza takeover. 4 locations hit simultaneously so nobody can warn the others. You move at 3 in the morning. Your team takes the northeast entry point. You've rehearsed this so many times your hands know the movements before your brain catches up. You breach the first location in under 2 minutes. The men inside make the calculation fast. By 4 in the morning, all 4 locations are secured. By sunrise, the plaza has new management. You drive back through streets that look exactly the same as they did 6 hours ago. The city doesn't know anything changed. 2 of the men who trained alongside you last month didn't make it to this operation. You don't ask what happened. The organization doesn't explain, it replaces. Somewhere above you, 4 levels up, someone made a decision tonight that ended with you standing in that building. You will never know his name. He will never know yours. Then you move on to the next one, Los Zetas. You don't look like what people expect. That's the point. 11 years in the Mexican army before someone approached you at a base in Tamaulipas and explained the transition. The pay difference made the conversation short. Your mother still thinks you work in private security. You let her think that. It's close enough and it's easier for both of you. Los Zetas were founded in 1997 by 31 deserters from the GAF, the Mexican Army's elite airborne special forces group. Some of them trained at Fort Bragg. They were hired as enforcers by the Gulf Cartel. Within a decade, they took it over. They introduced something the Mexican drug trade had never seen at scale: military discipline applied to criminal logistics, coordinated assaults using flanking movements and suppressing fire, encrypted communications with rotating frequencies, checkpoints on highways that function exactly like military checkpoints because the people running them spent years on military checkpoints. They also introduced systematic torture as communication. A body left in a specific position in a specific location carries a message that travels faster than any phone call and cannot be intercepted. The Zetas didn't invent cartel violence. They professionalized it. You are in a safe house in Nuevo Laredo. The house looks like every other house on the street. Inside, encrypted radios, a weapons cache, a whiteboard with a route map that will be erased before morning. The man next to you was a federal police officer 2 years ago. The man next to him studied engineering before someone recruited him at a bus station in Monterey. The result is a structure where the people giving orders understand exactly how the people trying to stop them think, which checkpoints can be compromised, which patrol routes have gaps, which frequencies the Army monitors. That is the most dangerous kind of knowledge in this business. The briefing is 20 minutes. The target is a rival operator who has been moving product through a corridor that belongs to your cell. You know his route, you know his schedule. You've been watching for 6 days. Tonight you move. The operation takes 11 minutes. You are back in the safe house before midnight. The whiteboard gets erased. The radios go into a bag that leaves in a different vehicle. You operate in a cell of 8. You know your cell, you know your territory, you know nothing above your level. The cell 2 districts over was arrested last week. None of them could give up anything above their own level. That cell is gone. The organization continues without missing a single shipment. You've thought about what happens if your cell is next. You've thought about it and put it away. Thinking about it doesn't change anything. It only slows you down. Gulf Cartel. You've been here longer than anyone. The Gulf Cartel is the oldest major trafficking organization in Mexico, founded in the 1930s by a bootlegger who understood early that the US-Mexico border was a business with no ceiling. By the time Osiel Cardenas Guillen took control in 1999, it generated an estimated $10 billion per year and controlled the entire Gulf Coast corridor from Tamaulipas to Texas. Then Osiel made the decision that changed everything. He recruited the 31 GAF soldiers who became Los Zetas, hired them to protect him. For 8 years it worked. Then the Zetas decided they didn't need the Gulf Cartel anymore and the war started. Between 2010 and 2012, that war killed over 1,000 people in Tamaulipas alone. Entire towns emptied, highways impassable after dark, 10,000 Mexican military troops deployed to the state. The killing continued anyway. Your uncle drove this highway for 12 years without a problem. Then the war started and he drove it one more time. You were 16 when they found the truck. You don't drive this highway without checking the route twice and keeping a second phone in your left boot and a number memorized that you call only if everything else has already gone wrong. Tonight the crossing is at 2 in the morning. You've done this 40 times. You know which lane, which officer, which signal means clear and which means abort. The truck rolls through, you watch from 200 meters back, no lights, no radio. The truck disappears on the other side. You wait 20 minutes, then you make the call. One word, done. The Gulf Cartel survived because of something no other organization on this list has. Political relationships so deep inside Tamaulipas that removing them would require dismantling the state government entirely. Mayors, police chiefs, judges, built over 80 years, one envelope at a time. Power disappears, history stays. The organization that built the most dangerous enforcement wing in cartel history lost control of it. You didn't make that decision in 1999. You live inside it anyway, every day, on every crossing. The border crossing at the end of this highway moves $300 million worth of product per year. You hold the route, or you don't. La Familia Michoacana, the man who founded this organization, handed out Bibles. Nazario Moreno Gonzalez wrote his own religious texts and distributed them to his men along with their weapons and their orders. He built roads where the government hadn't. He paid for quinceañeras in villages where families couldn't afford them. He showed up after floods with food. In 2010, he sent the Mexican federal government a written notice that the organization was voluntarily disbanding and asked only to be left in peace. The government did not respond. La Familia continued. You attend the meetings every Thursday at 7 in the evening. You read the texts before each one. The meetings are not optional and the texts are not metaphors. Two men who missed meetings without an acceptable explanation were not at the following one. The man leading your cell speaks about protection and community with the same tone a pastor uses on Sunday morning. The methamphetamine your cell produces using precursor chemicals shipped directly from China and India reaches 40 U.S. states through a distribution network built over 18 years. Both of those things are true at the same time. You stopped finding that strange after the first year. Tonight, your cell delivers product to a distribution point 60 kilometers east. You leave at 10, you arrive at 11:40. The exchange takes 4 minutes. The other party doesn't speak. You don't speak. 2 vehicles in a dark parking lot and then both gone in opposite directions. On the way back, you pass the road the organization built in your grandmother's village. The road the government had promised for 20 years and put on every campaign poster and never once delivered. The organization built it in 4 months. You pass it every time you run this route. You always notice it. Your younger brother asked you once how you sleep at night. You didn't answer. He didn't ask again. La Familia splintered in 2011 into Los Caballeros Templarios, which splintered further. The ideology survived every split. Each new organization that emerged kept the community language, the religious framing, the idea that what they do is protection rather than predation. The methamphetamine kept moving through all of it. This is the hardest organization on this list to leave. Fear you can outrun. Belief follows you. 5 cartels. 5 different answers to the same question. How do you build something that lasts in a business where nothing is supposed to? Sinaloa built it through invisibility, CJNG through total force, the Zetas through military structure, the Gulf through history, La Familia through belief. None of them solved the problem. They found different ways to delay it. Somewhere right now, someone who worked for one of these 5 is forming something new. He believes he understands the mistake they made. He is probably right about the mistake, and wrong about the rest.